Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Wave Network and Sports Corner with the Conn Man. Today, I have with me a very special guest. He goes by the name of Ibn Bakari. Ibn, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mike. How are you?
All right. We have some technical difficulties, but we're going to do the damn thing anyway. Thank you for holding on, Ibn. Ibn, for folks who do not know a little bit about you, and even though you were on my show before, I'm here to give you your roses and your flowers. So I kind of want to let you take it over from there. Talk about, for the viewers that may not have tuned in the last time you were on, a little bit about your background, a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to go on and talk about all the great things you're doing now.
All right. Well, my name is Ibn Hashim Bakari. A lot of folks call me Ibn, Ivan, Evan, eBay. Uh, got a lot of different names that I'm called, but I am. For those of you who don't know, I have been residing now in the New England area since 2000. But prior to that, I made my way out to the Rhode Island area from Detroit, Michigan, back in the early 90s.
Mhm.
I was privileged as a student athlete to be able to get a full scholarship, and I chose to go to the University of Rhode Island, where Al Skinner and a number of basketball players from New York, one of my high school teammates, Carlton King, actually came out a year before I did from Detroit Southwestern,
Okay.
and I have to say it's probably one of the best decisions that I could have made out of the 80 schools that were recruiting me at that time. So I've been residing in Rhode Island. I function work for the state. I work for the government. For those that you guys don't know what that means, and I founded a nonprofit organization called Lights and Sirens International. We're going into our 16th year, or actually celebrating our 16th annual international basketball tournament that we're hosting next month down in the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
That's the platform that we're on, that we will discuss more about. And that's about it. I'm blessed to be here, in 2025. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to all of you out there. Definitely have saw quite a handful of people that did not make it to see another year. So definitely want to count my blessings and those that are here with us, because we take for granted that tomorrow's not promised. We always hear these acronyms and statements as we're growing up, and it's not until you start getting older that you really start to appreciate and understand what they really mean.
I totally agree with you. You know, what made you decide to do the nonprofit? What gave you the concept, or gave you the idea, the intuition to start something like that?
Well, I would first say that it started with me actually going back to my alma mater, the University of Rhode Island, where I had worked as a development officer for about 3 or 4 years, where I was given the opportunity to travel different parts of the country to visit alumni and speak with them about their experience. Because as you know, when you go to college, a lot of folks, especially if you're even in state, you have a tendency not to go back to the institution. So it could be 5, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from when someone, had their experience at an institution. So it really gave me an opportunity to meet alums, to talk about their experience, come back and report that to the administration. And then, at the end of the day, I was asking for money for the institution so that others could get the same opportunity that a lot benefited. So I took that experience, and then the Dominican Republic came about. And so I was asked to host the international, if I would consider it, hosting an international basketball tournament.
Hmm.
And I looked at it and was like, okay, like, what's the details and the logistics? And, now you're talking about doing something outside of the country. And how it is putting a tournament on, all of the work that you have to put in preparation. So once I started doing that, I had no real interest in creating a nonprofit organization. It was actually my better half that pushed me and said that you should get registered as a 501c3.
Mhm.
And through my ignorance, I didn't think that because we were doing international work that we could be a 501c3 in the United States. And now, fast forwarding, we're registered not only in the United States as a nonprofit, but we're also registered in the Dominican Republic as a nonprofit organization. So, talk about, had no interest, didn't even think about it, and it was really something that was spoke on. So I have to give Wilder Gutierrez a lot of credit for pushing me to and challenging me to step up and do something of this nature.
Now, Ibn, what were the, I guess, trials and tribulations of beginning something like that, as big as it is? I mean, going out of the country.
I would definitely say one of the biggest challenges that we had in the very first year was that, now that I was convinced and I had did my homework and reached out to some basketball players, some of the great basketball players, in fact, that were in the Dominican Republic to help me to put this thing together. So once we got the teams that were interested, and I was traveling to different tournaments in Chicago, Vegas, Dallas, Atlanta, New York. And then there was an article that came out by Ebony Magazine on sex tourism in the Dominican Republic. And that immediately killed my entire tournament because of an article that had nothing to do with what we were promoting and putting together. But it was just that negative connotation that was associated and the propaganda that was associated with the country, that now I was left with only having two teams from the United States when it went where I had 5 or 6. So we still did the tournament. We did it with, teams. We made up for it with the teams from the DR, which actually turned out to be better because now it really it really helped us to do the cultural piece by interacting with the folks from the DR on the basketball court, off the court. But that was probably one of the biggest challenges, was having, that negativity that is there. And even till this day, 16 years later, we still deal with the negativity that's associated with trying to bridge the gap between law enforcement and community relations. So, I think that what happens is that you've had a century long issues that have affected the Black and the brown people when it comes to law enforcement. And when you look at the origin of where law enforcement came from and being the overseers of slaves, it's got very hard. It's something that is very, very hard for, I think, a lot of folks to let go and to see actually that there could be progress and change. And I would say that you've benefited by the changes by actually going and working in law enforcement yourself. And so now you yourself as a CO, as an officer, was something that was now working in the facilities and working with the community, where they saw somebody that looked like them versus somebody that was not. That's helping to change that landscape.
That's very true. That's very true. Wow, that's deep, very deep. Now, can you let the viewers know? Okay, you brought teams up there. What was the process of obtaining these players? What was there a tryout? Was there some type of way that you chose the teams to go over there?
Well, one of the things that happened with me is that once I had stepped into law enforcement, a lot of folks don't realize this, but there is like a big network of public safety tournaments that are happening across the country.
Yeah.
So I participated in tournaments playing with like the Cumberland Police Department here in Rhode Island, where we end up going to Connecticut, where we played in tournaments. And then when we got to there, we actually came in where there were folks that told us we need to go home because they were like, Rhode Island, like, who are y'all? Like, you guys don't have no talent. Like, we're from Houston, we're from Dallas, we're from New York. Like, so one of the things that they found out very quickly was that, you know, we had the personnel that knew basketball. And we went in and we just started beating teams by 15, 20, 30. And then now we start playing against some of the more bigger teams like, you know, New York. You know, New York has over 60,000 employees for its NYPD. So they get the pick of, so they got like a finest one, finest two, finest three, finest four. So I've been able to network with all of these players that have gone to the same tournaments. Either it's in Memphis, it's in Dallas, it's in Vegas, it's in Chicago, it's in Miami, it's in New York. So sports has really been like the conduit that really brought us all together. So it was very easy for me to do the tournament because it was the very players for the who I played against that was asking for me to do a tournament in the Dominican Republic. So again, tournament was the furthest thing from my mind to ever get involved in. I mean, participating in is one thing, but then now to become an organizer and then the logistics and then now going through writing contracts and reading contracts, you know, I mean, again, I'm not Dominican. And then English is my first language and I'm still working on my Spanish. So for me, I still had to deal with the cultural difference, the language barriers. And so, of course, you being the gringo, you're a target. So it's just like if you're a freshman and you coming in and trying to get minutes, you are a target. Be like, no, you gotta earn your stripes. So I look at sports and I look at how that networking really helped develop how Lights and Sirens really became the focal point of doing a basketball tournament, but then even thinking outside of that and thinking about the health and wellness of law enforcement personnel and having them be able to have an outlet because I don't think we think about a lot of what they carry inside of the things that they see on a day-to-day basis.
I can understand that. Now, let the people know exactly your initiative of what does it stand for.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Your initiative, what does it stand for?
My initial, which initial you referring to?
Initiative.
Oh, my initiative. The initiative with the I'm sorry, I thought you were saying initials. My apologies. So the initiative that we're doing with Lights and Sirens International is you know, it's really about trying. It really has, the foundation of it was really focused on the health and wellness, both mentally and physically, of public safety personnel. That then morphed into changing, taking individuals out of their comfort zone and putting them in a place where now you're a civilian. Then we started doing humanitarian work on top of that. So now it's like you're working on not only your health and wellness, but now you're working on your mental. And I think that what happens is that when you start giving back to other people, you see things in a different perspective. And so it started changing individuals' personas where they were coming back to work fresh, restored, and renewed. So now it was like, you know what? Hey, we're on something here. So our whole platform has been, you know, to help with the mental health of public safety, but also trying to help mend the relations with the community that has been torn, because you've had families that have been torn by this. You know, you've had individuals that have done, you know, that have put felonious charges on individuals just so that they can, you know, that they can, you know, get the case or potentially get that promotion that they were looking for. So, you know, we're even now, like I heard a new term this week that we're looking at where you're talking about moral injury. moral injury is like something that, you know, you look in law enforcement, it's like, all right, morally, how did I handle this situation? You know, I felt bad. You know, I potentially had to draw my gun. I probably had to shoot my gun. Now it's like, you know, you carry a lot of that. You carry a lot of when you go to an accident, you know, somebody's in a car and now you're seeing, you know, like a person is like really needing like serious help. So all of these things kind of become a part of the conversation that was happening in these tournaments. So it was really like a venting, being
Right.
able to be on that basketball court, compete, play, sweat, then afterwards, you know, hang out, talk, chat, you know, releasing like, you know, talking about various things. And it really was just that outlet to just be able to get what was in, because as we know, you keep things in too long, it starts to fester and manifest itself into negative forms. And so that was why, you know, I took what my own personal issues I was having and then also listening to others and seeing the similarities. And so that's why the platform for Lights and Sirens really developed into what it's become.
Okay, so let the viewers know, what if someone wanted to participate? What road would they have to go through in order to, you know, they're interested in what you're doing, and they wanted to help out in some way, shape, or form? What would they have to do?
Well, one, we would have to definitely do a vetting process because, you know, not all help is good help.
That's true. I
You
know
know,
about.
you know, so we definitely, you know, we definitely encourage people to reach out to us that is interested in, you know, working with us, volunteering. Hell, we've been looking for even, you know, new board members that can help with giving us more direction. Um, but yeah, it's definitely more of like a vetting process. You know, we're definitely looking for, you know, a mix. You know, we like to have like a younger generation as well as the middle and the older. We like to have folks that either have military, you know, public safety background. We like civilians, people from the community that actually want to see changes in their community. So we definitely try to, you know, balance out how we set ourselves up so that we can give ourselves the best chance of giving the best product and helping the community be functional.
Now, I was, you know, doing a little bit of homework, and I see a lot of functions that you are involved with, receiving some awards, helping out the youth. Can you go in a little detail about that?
Well, I think it'd probably be helpful if I kind of like just go through like from start of the beginning of the year to what we find ourselves at the end of the year. So
Awesome.
so this month we just actually last weekend we just completed the packaging of the toys that was donated from 2024 to us for us to do some of our adopt a family for Christmas initiative that we worked on last month. And then now the remaining toys, what we do with those is we pack those up, and then the shipping company from the Dominican Republic came and picked those up on Monday so that they can be in the Dominican Republic next month. So when we arrive, we're now able to do some community outreach work by handing out toys, school
Uh,
supplies. We also have had like the Dallas Police Department that donated to us, you know, brand new gun holsters and mag holsters and utility belts so that we could also now donate that to the national police in the Dominican Republic so that we can continue to build that relationship. So
Ooh.
that was what we just did, just, you know, starting off our January. And then February, we do a 4-day international basketball tournament that we call Lights and Sirens International 16th annual Vacation with a Purpose basketball tournament and humanitarian trip. I know that that sounds very long, but that is what we use. That is our slogan, Vacation with a Purpose. And we have a 4-day international tournament where we have 12 teams this year that will be participating. And we have 6 that will be representing the United States. We have U.S. Customs Border Protection, along with Dade County Corrections out of South Florida. We have NYPD. We have Providence Police Department. We have the Dallas Police Department. And we have, who am I missing? Who am I missing? I think that is, oh, I'm sorry. That's that. We have 5, not, we have 5 because we have 2 teams that's going to represent Providence. We have 2 divisions. We have a 35 and over, and we have a 50 and over. And we play FIBA rules. So this now also gives individual opportunity to play international basketball as if like you were playing in the Olympics. So that's also kind of a nice thing because now you're playing with a smaller basketball. You have, you don't have to work. There's no goaltending. You don't have to give the ball to the official. You can just grab it and go. You got more of the Euro step. So the game is quite different. And then we do our humanitarian trip that we have, and I have to give a shout out to the Caring Cruise, which is employees of the airlines that is going to be actually coming down. About 5 or 7 of the airline employees who created their own nonprofit organization have heard about what Lights and Siren has been doing. And so they're actually going to come and actually do a setup and do some face painting with the kids and doing some activities while they're at the gym. And then we're going to, work with the National Police by giving them a donation and also having them interacting with other law enforcement personnel from the United States so that we can also look at potentially having cross-training opportunities. So we have that. We are going to be in around March, April. We're going to be doing a spring community outreach program in Smithfield, Rhode Island, where we're going to be having the local police department, Smithfield PD, participate by using bocce ball as the conduit to bring the 2 sides together to not only teach them now how to play bocce in the grass, but also we have a private custom-made court that now gives them where the professionals play. Because one thing I have to say is that these kids have really taken a liking to bocce, and I would not be surprised if we start seeing, some kids on ESPN playing bocce professionally. We have our cornhole event that we'll have coming up in May that we usually partner with the Providence Police Department at Roger Williams Park at their Mountie Command facility, where we actually get a chance to interact with the Clydesdales that they have. Then we also will use cornhole as a way of doing this. I mentioned cornhole and I mentioned bocce. Bocce is something that I was exposed to when I played basketball over in Italy. And so being in a heavy Italian area, especially on Federal Hill in Providence, Rhode Island, we were fortunate. I was fortunate enough to be able to walk by and had folks that invited me to play. And to their surprise, they found out that I actually knew how to play.
Right.
So we've been building that as one of our community outreach piece to the point that we've actually adopted the bocce ball park on Federal Hill for our use so that we can open that more up to the community. We then we're looking at, establishing a drone and AI technology educational after school program for youth, because we're seeing that, technology AI is here, drone is here. And a lot of them already have the hand and eye coordination from, using their cell phones and video games. So I think that this is an opportunity that we see youth be able to get exposed to the opportunities of getting exposed to either operating drones. I mean, drones are being used for movies, construction. the insurance industry, law enforcement, fire, agriculture, oceanography, even in outside of the world, in space. So depending on how advanced you want to go with it, this is an opportunity that we would definitely want to build on, and so we want to bring that out. Uh, we have we have we have our annual toy drives that we do that I had just mentioned, and I'm blessed to be able to do that through the URI Athletics, where
Hmm.
we are actually attend. They give us about 5 games during the men's basketball season, where we're able to collect toys at the University of Rhode Island men's basketball. We also have Adoption Rhode Island that donates to us. The Rhode Island State Police donates to us toys. My employer, DOT, Department of Transportation, we've done a toy drive, an annual toy drive where we're getting toys from there. So we have, several ways that we collect toys for our organization for us to then take those toys to that leads into our Adopt a Family for Christmas. We identify through DCYF and other agencies to identify families that are in need for the holiday season. And so we end up getting some of our sponsors, like Providence Water, the URI women's basketball program that will adopt a family, and they actually do the shopping, they do the wrapping, and
Wow.
then we come and pick that up and we deliver that to the family. So that's something that I have to give, Tammy Reese and to the URI women's basketball. Thank you so much for y'all supporting us as you have. Also, Providence Water, we appreciate you. And I also got to give a special out to my boy Silky Owens and Carol. They also jump in the mix and adopt a family for us. So these are the things that we have been doing. And as you said, you can see the activity. We are very busy, from the beginning to the end of the year, and it's a lot of work. But to me, I don't feel like it's work because it's really like again just helping to give back. Because as I tell folks, if it wasn't, I was that kid that sat in the gym when we would get different speakers, or when you was in a classroom and you got different speakers that came and talked to you, you know to me, that was somebody that gave back, and it's only right that I give back because you actually you're defying the law of life by not giving back before you leave this earth.
That's true. That's true. And what y'all also doing is contributing to breaking the cycle. You know what I mean? You're breaking the cycle, which a lot of us have, unfortunately, have to go through as well. Now, when you mention we, can you talk about we?
So we is pretty kind of what I've already have mentioned. A lot of our supporters, a lot of our donors, um, you know, we rely on volunteers and independent donors, as well as, even like the Pepito Opportunity Connection, which is a foundation here in Rhode Island that has helped us. Our Rhode Island legislators have grants that have helped us as well. United Way has helped us in the past with our organization. And then we're still seeking for other opportunities from other places for us to be. Oh, and I'm sorry, the Rhode Island Foundation is another institution that helps us. So we get different, we get different funding from different sources. So when I say we as a collective. I say we from the police departments and the fire departments that support us. Those that are willing to use their, on their own dime to fly and come outside the country and participate not only in basketball but giving back to a community outside of the United States. to those here locally that supports us. As I mentioned, I have to mention the Adoption Rhode Islands, for their support. Cardi Furniture, which is based out of Massachusetts, they're a big supporter of us. So one of the things that I try to do is each year when we have our T-shirts made, is that I try to put the logos of the different entities that have helped us over the course of the year, and just try to at least show that we appreciate them by doing that. So our we consist of our board, our volunteers, the kids from the rec centers that come from the different schools that participate, even the adults, the businessmen, the business establishments that donate to us. So it's a collective. So for me, I say we because even though I might be the face, I might be the founder, might be the president of Lights and Sirens International, but there's no I, there's the we in this, because I could not do this without the we.
And where do you find the time to do all this?
There's a couple of people that thought I might be, a vampire. I don't know. I don't know where I get the energy from. I work a full-time job.
Right.
So there are even folks that it's hard for them to fathom that I actually don't even draw a paycheck for what I do for the nonprofit side, because for me, again, it's not work, it's giving back. And the industry might be a little upset because of our platform and how we function and what we do. But at the end of the day, it's all about just giving back. And so I feel like I'm blessed enough that I have a job that gives me the flexibility to do some of my nonprofit work. But I just make sure that I get to bed, by 9 o'clock. I get up at 5, and then I actually arrive work an hour and a half or hour early every single day, so that I can use that time for like my personal stuff before I do my 7 hours for work. Wow. And then I might steal an hour from my lunch to do some of my personal stuff or things for the nonprofit organization. And then once I get out of work, I have to take one hat off and put another hat on at times. So I'm constantly kind of pivoting. But you know what? I like being in a structured environment. It helps me stay focused. But I also know too that I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to keep this pace up. So to the point when you were asking how folks can participate, how they can get involved, we really are looking for individuals that can see the vision of what we're doing, our mission, that actually do want to see a change. And I'm talking about across the board, males, females, young, older, civilians, sworn officers. We're looking to try to continue to build on what we have. And one thing I'm very proud of is that Lights and Sirens International is now trademarked.
Oh, shoot. Oh, wow. That's phenomenal, man. Wow.
So if the government believes in us, you should believe in us too, even though I don't have a lot of faith in our government like some people do as well.
Especially beginning Monday. But we don't digress. We don't want to digress. But what is your ultimate vision of the initiative that you've taken and what your program, where do you want it to go? I know what your mission is, but where do you hopefully want to see it in like 5 years, for example?
Well, I can tell you right now, one of the initiatives that I'm working on right now is we have a partnership with Boston College. And we are working on looking at we're looking at doing a study on the effectiveness of implicit bias training for law enforcement. And that is going to be between a 3 to 5 year study that we're looking at. And we've already identified 3 departments in the state of Rhode Island that is interested in being a part of that pilot project. So for me, what I would like to see moving forward is I would like to see us becoming a little bit more involved in either the implicit bias training, for law enforcement, because implicit bias is something that applies to every human being. It's not isolated to just one occupation or just one individual. It's across the board. We all have implicit bias. So that is probably one of my biggest goals in the next 3 to 5 years. But also, I would like to continue to see our program growing with our community outreach, with law enforcement, and with the community. We are seeing some benefits. We're actually even seeing some of the younger generation that is expressing interest in potentially going in law enforcement as a career. So we're looking at it, from not only trying to heal and build the community, but also looking to try to sustain the entities that are present, because if we don't replenish it, then we're going to start seeing other problems that are going to be on the arise. But more importantly, educating and just trying to lead by example and giving this younger generation. I know that we may get frustrated, with them and how we view how they think and how they are not as hardworking as they are. But I have to give them their flowers that, they might be mute, but they're not zombies, and that they are aware of a lot of things that are going on. I just think that we just need to give them a better platform to be able to be more vocal and be able to work on their work ethic.
I got you. It been what you said this evening has been unbelievable. I mean, what you're involved with is, I kind of knew, that's why I wanted you on the show, because I wanted to give you your flowers for what you do. Not many people do what you do that can do what you do, and you should be applauded. But is there anything that maybe I didn't ask that I should have, or is there anything that you want to say or give a view about? Maybe that can make an impact to people who are watching, the viewers, because we do have some youth who are watching the show as well.
All right. Well, one of the things that I would probably bring up, and this was one of the things that you actually had talked about, and this was a conversation that I had last month with some of my former teammates, and that is the NIL.
Okay. Okay.
So, the NIL, for me, me still trying to process it, especially being a former student athlete.
Right.
And being now, I actually sit on the athletic advisory board at URI. So this has become a big discussion at the university when now you're talking about, recruitment and retaining players, because when COVID happened, it was like COVID happened. And then now the transfer portal came in, and the NIL came in right there with it. So you've had like these 3 dynamics that has really changed the landscape of college sports, to the point that I don't know if we're going to see an alumni base like we've seen before. Because now you have individuals that have the freedom to transfer, and still be eligible. Whereas when we were coming up, if you transferred, you had to sit a year.
Right. Correct. Mm-hmm.
Whereas you're getting to play. Now, the the whole name, image, and likeness part, I get. Especially looking at the hardship. There are folks that think that the student athletes at the university, are blessed. They ain't got to worry about nothing financially. And when you talk about, my schooling is taken care of, my housing is taken care of, my meals are taken care of. All right. But now, what about transportation? What about going out to the movies or going to the restaurant? Where do you go? How do you pay for that? So that was one of the challenges that I look at. I looked at the fact that, okay, I end up going and getting a job to bus tables at the university club, because I was like, I want to be able to go out on a date. I want to be able to go and get off campus, and then getting turned around and was like, hey, you can't do that or you will lose your eligibility. Then you had to wait until the season came around to get meal money so that you could use your meal money to help pay your phone bill, because you had to call back home and talk to the family. And it's not like how we have cell phones now with unlimited, minutes and this, that, and the other. So, there's a different dynamics of coming up in the 90s and, occasionally maybe getting a $100 handshake from a friend of the program to try to help you out here and there. But I think that it's great that these young student athletes are getting their due. But I just think that they should put a cap on it, because I think that you end up causing a lot of friction when now you got an 18-year-old, 19-year-old that's got a got a $500,000 endorsement deal, and then now your teammate, he's like, I ain't getting that. And then now, how effective is that going to be on the court, on the field? So there. I think when they put this thing together, I think the intentions was good, but I just don't know if there's some modifications, because even just today, I was looking at, like the top 3 individuals in NCAA sports that are looking at, $10 million deals.
Mm-hmm. That's true. No, I get you. I'm glad, because now you sit on the board at URI. What do you think, from your experiences, how does the NIL affect coaching, recruiting, etc.? What's your take on that?
Well, it's definitely something that has been an Achilles heel.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start looking at what is your major programs, your mid-major programs, and your lower programs, how you're competing with the upper echelon programs, especially the conferences, when you look at football, when you look at basketball, those are the top 2 right off the rip. That is like, it's pitted, it's pitted against each other. And so now you got a kid that's like that's at one school, and you got another one that's saying, hey, listen, go in the portal and we got you over here, and this is the deal we got for you and your family. Well, of course you're gonna fucking chase the money.
Right.
So there, so even URI is like, trying to figure out how to navigate around this. And again, they can't even be really hands-on. They can only really like give some guidance.
Right.
So now that's leaving. So now you're shielding you're shielding student athletes to get exposed to, like, now business agents, attorneys, folks that's, either got the right agenda, but then I'm sure you got those who got the wrong agenda.
Of course.
You know, but you know, just like any rookie that goes into playing, you know, professionally, there definitely should be some economics. There should be some financial literacy that should be given to these individuals to help them understand what what they're taking on and what pressures that now come with those type of financial deals that they're putting themselves in.
You know, even when I really knew it was real is when these colleges are hiring general managers.
Yes.
Just oversee the portal, the NIL, the monies, how it's spent, and it's right then and there. Now I knew it was real. When you hire a general manager just for that, and the fact is too, players are playing for the name on the back instead of the name on the front. That's another thing too. And then you can't have there's no stability, there's no camaraderie because you're one and done, a lot of them. And I think that affects the makeup of the landscape of the college season. Yeah. Also, what it does, it takes away the rivalries. Like we know how URI and PC used to go at it. You know what I mean? You know, Georgetown and Syracuse.
Yes.
It's the way that. I don't know what your take is on that.
Well, you know, I look, for instance, at UConn. UConn has essentially been able to navigate around that portal, right, and have now been able to, you know, sustain and now win back to back.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What does that look like for year 3 for them? No one knows, but they definitely figured out the formula that worked for them to maintain sustainability, success on the court, and not a lot of turnover that other institutions are experiencing and seeing. And then the frustration that is coming from, you know, coaches that are that are like now saying like, I'm having a hard time coaching some of these kids.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, we know what prima donnas are. We've heard the term, and so we know that they exist. And you know, I don't know. It's something that is definitely it's here. It's. I think that there's bigger money that's coming because it already has. Where you could either start seeing like corporations that are like now putting in money where the arenas are now called Comcast or it's called this, right, because I've heard an owner from the NBA that says that yes, they're cashing in on potentially giving money to institutions so that they could get their naming rights on facilities. And so now if they're investing $50 million, well, now that's $50 million that could be used to parlay with grabbing here to then try to build your team. So I don't think every institution is in that position. And so therefore that's where the fairness of this happens. But then the system hasn't been fair to the players
for so long. Exactly. We have only a few minutes left. Could you leave us with, because I always like my guests to make an impact, which you already have, but is there anything you want to let the viewers know as far as making an impact on anything that you feel that is important that the viewers should learn or understand? The floor is yours, my friend.
Well, I thank you for that. Well, one, I would say that we could definitely use more of an audience and followers on our Instagram, on our YouTube, on our Facebook, and and hitting our website. Those social media platforms are there for a reason, and if we want to see change isn't going to just happen on its own. it's something that requires the support and the efforts of all involved. We may not all agree on our approaches, but that's the beauty of it. It's about, talking, seeing different perspectives. And that's the one thing that, is a part of the language that we use, like trying to change the narrative, trying to change perspectives, because sometimes we get too caught up in our own viewpoint. And then that's something that's okay, because not everybody is, been privileged to live maybe outside of their community.
Right.
Where others have. So their perspective is going to be a little bit more broader than someone who has maybe that is more narrow. That doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't make the person that's a little bit more open-minded, better than you. It's just about just taking all of this and trying to bring it all together, and so that we could be a little bit more harmonious. And I just thank you for the opportunity that you've given us to come on to, talk about the work that we're doing, talk about myself a little bit, but more importantly, just talk about the collective, about, what's happening in Massachusetts, what's happening in Rhode Island, what's happening out west, what's happening outside the country. I think that, continue to educate yourself. Don't just take things for face value. Educate yourself. Read, reach out, research. You have this device in your hand, utilize it. We had to go to a library and go through the whole process of finding information. You got that right in your hand, so utilize it, and just be grateful for what you have, and don't always look at what somebody else have, because one quick decision can change a person's situation. So I would leave you on that.
How can these people get a hold of you?
Well, my number is out there, so you could call me directly at 401-286-5134. You can also reach us at lightsandsirens@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we have a YouTube channel, and we also have our website, lightsandsirens.international.org. Again, we're open to dialogue, we're open to criticism. Again, this is something that was created for the people, so that we could all just try to do what we can to try to help make changes.
It's been a blessing having you coming on my show. I mean, you made my night. I am so proud of you and honored to call you a friend. And again, I want to thank you for coming on. You have an open invitation. Anytime you want to come on, you just hit me up and we'll keep doing this and try to make this place a better world. And what you are doing is exceptional, and I'm so proud of you. Again, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on my show. We'll keep in touch. You can come on anytime you want. Folks, isn't this guy special? I'm trying to tell you all, this is what we do here on Sports Corner with the Conn Man on the Sports Wave Network. I want to thank my man, Ibn Bakari, for coming on my show. And again, Ibn, thank you very much. Folks, tune in next week.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. Next week, folks, we're going to have a good show as well. We're going to have Wilson Alex, who's having a big fight February 22nd at the Mohegan Sun. And then we're going to have Nick Correa, who is also the trainer for a lot of the NBA athletes that we have. So we're going to have him on and talk about his journey dealing with the Heron Project and the trials and tribulations that he has gone through with. I'll let him talk when he comes on next week, because I'm going to give him his flowers as well. Again, Ibn, thank you very much for coming on my show. Thank y'all for tuning in. Tune in next week on Sports Corner with the Conn Man on the Sports Wave Network. Y'all take care. Stay safe. Peace. Thank you, Ibn.